Okay, let's be real. The world of AI tools is just exploding. It feels like a new one drops every single day, and trying to keep up is basically impossible. So, what we're going to do here is cut right through all that noise and give you a super simple way to think about which tool to use and when.
You know that feeling, right? You're staring at your screen, you've got like 10 different AI tabs open, and they're all promising to revolutionize your workflow. But you're just thinking, okay, but which one do I actually use for this specific thing I need to do right now? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. It's totally overwhelming.
But here's the secret. You can stop looking for that one perfect magical tool that does everything. It doesn't exist. The real key is to think of these AIs like a superhero team. Each one has a very specific, unique superpower, one thing it does way better than anyone else. And once you know what those superpowers are, choosing the right tool for the job becomes incredibly simple. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about the everyday AIs, the generalists you've probably already heard of. Then we'll get into the specialists, the expert tools built for very specific jobs. And finally, we'll put it all together and show you how to build your own personal AI toolkit.
All right, let's kick things off with the generalists. We're talking about the big names here: ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. On the surface, they kind of seem like they all do the same thing, right? But they don't. Each one has quietly carved out its own specialty. Let's break them down. Let's start with the one that started it all, the OG ChatGPT. Now, other AIs might be catching up in certain areas, but ChatGPT's core superpower is actually pretty simple, but it is so crucial. It's pure obedience. It does exactly what you tell it to do. No questions asked, especially when your instructions are long and complicated.
So what does obedience actually mean in practice? Well, imagine you give it a super detailed prompt with like 12 different steps. ChatGPT will go through that list and methodically check off every single one. Other models? They might get a little creative. They might decide a step isn't important and just skip it. For example, when one user tested them with a complex hiring checklist, ChatGPT was the only one that followed every single rule perfectly. So the takeaway is simple. If your task has a ton of moving parts and you need it done exactly right, ChatGPT is your go-to.
Okay, next up is Google's Gemini. Now, if ChatGPT's strength is following orders, Gemini's is its senses. Its superpower is something called multimodality, and all that really means is that it can see, hear, and read all at the same time. And this is a huge deal. While pretty much all the top models can handle text and images now, only Gemini can natively understand video and audio. You don't need some clunky workaround. It can literally watch a YouTube video or listen to an MP3 file. And that, my friends, is a total game changer.
Here's a perfect, real-world example of this in action. You could do a messy screen recording of some process on your computer, upload that raw video file straight into Gemini and just say, hey, turn this into a step-by-step guide. And just like that, it transforms your messy video into a perfectly formatted document.
All right, rounding out our trio of generalists is Claude from Anthropic. Claude's superpower is all about quality. It produces incredibly polished, high-quality first drafts. What that means for you is the stuff it gives you right out of the gate is just better. It's closer to a finished product, which means you spend way less time editing and revising.
And this superpower really shines in two key areas. First up, coding. For whatever reason, Claude is just fantastic at writing code that actually works on the first try, more often than the others. There's even a story of it writing a working script for someone who had never coded in their life. And second, polishing your writing. If you give Claude a few examples of your writing style, it is uncanny how well it can mimic your voice and tone. It's perfect for taking a decent draft and making it great.
Okay, so we've got our generalists down. Now, let's move on to the second category, the specialists. These are the AIs that aren't trying to be a Swiss Army knife. No, these are more like scalpels. They are fine-tuned to be the absolute best at one specific job.
But first, a really quick but super important clarification. People often mix this up. You have a lab, like OpenAI, that builds a giant, powerful engine. That's the foundational model like GPT-4. Then companies can build different cars using that same engine. ChatGPT is one car. But another company can take that same GPT-4 engine and build a totally different car, like Perplexity, fine-tuning it for a specific purpose.
And that brings us perfectly to Perplexity. Think of it this way. General chatbots like ChatGPT are built for reasoning. You use them for brainstorming, drafting new ideas, and creative tasks. Perplexity, on the other hand, is built for one thing: fetching. Its job is to go out,
find a specific, accurate fact, and bring it back to you as fast as possible.
This travel story just nails the difference. You'd use ChatGPT for the big, creative reasoning task, like help me plan a 10-day itinerary for a trip to Japan. But when you're actually there, on the street, and you need a quick, factual answer for a fetching task, like is this specific restaurant friendly to foreigners, that's when you pull out Perplexity for a fast, cited answer.
Okay, our next specialist is Google's Notebook LM, and its superpower is all about control. It creates what you can think of as a walled garden for your information. What that means is it will only answer questions using the documents you give it, which means it is physically incapable of making stuff up or hallucinating. And here's why that's so powerful. You control the entire knowledge base. You can upload all your research, your project files, your notes, and Notebook LM instantly becomes the world's leading expert on only that material. This makes it the absolute perfect tool for something like fact-checking an article against your original source documents, because you know its answers are coming from a place of truth that you provided.
So we've met the team. We know their individual superpowers. Now for the really fun part. How do we get them to work together? Let's talk about building a workflow that combines these strengths into something way more powerful than any single tool could ever be on its own.
Let's imagine you have to write a research-heavy newsletter. Here's how you could assemble your AI team. Step 1. You could start with Gemini. Feed it a few videos and articles on your topic to help you brainstorm and structure your initial messy ideas. Step 2. You take that rough draft and pop it over to Claude to refine the language, polish the prose, and make sure it perfectly matches your writing style. And then, for the final step, you use Perplexity like a surgical scalpel to go in and quickly verify every specific fact and figure. And that really brings us to the single most important takeaway here. The goal is not to master a dozen different AI platforms. That's a recipe for burnout. The real goal is to build a small, curated toolkit of a few trusted specialists and to know exactly which one to reach for based on the job you're facing right now. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you look at the work that you do every day, which of these superpowers do you need the most? Do you need perfect obedience? Do you need the multimodality to understand video, a high-quality first draft, fast fetching, or that walled garden accuracy? Your answer to that question will tell you exactly which tool you should start with.